Hello, 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 everyone, and welcome to Revelations with Rowena. I'm your host, Dr. Rowena Winkler, and I promise you that I am working toward some sort of intro. I know I've promised it for the past, 5 weeks or what have you, since I've been doing this, but it's actually happening. I took inspired action to have a cute or delightful opening thing with my jingle on top of that. I am so excited to have one of my dear good friends, soulpreneur sister, acupuncturist, boss babe, amazing human being, Taurus queen. Hannah Jefferson is here today. We are going to be talking about living as empaths and how we create energetic boundaries, especially y'all. I don't know about you, but this solar eclipse has been kicking my ass a little bit. Raise your
Crazy.
hand. Raise your hand if you've been kicked around by the solar eclipse energy. I know I have. So it's going to be an awesome conversation, very timely. Might even do a card pull or two. We'll see. So, Hannah, why don't we start by having you talk a little bit about yourself and your journey and anything you want to say about what brought you here and living as an empathic person. This conversation or this topic stemmed, I believe, probably during one of my acu sessions. I think we discussed it and then you said something and I was like, oh, that's a good idea. That's what brought us
Let's
here.
talk about this.
That's usually how it goes,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me on. I love doing things like this and having these kinds of conversations because they're just
Yeah.
so fun and rich and just so much to talk about. So yes, my name is Hannah Jefferson. I'm a licensed acupuncturist and a soul connection coach. I love working with men and women, but women in particular, to help to create a sense of deep internal and external alignment and working with words and needles and moxa and cups and herbs and all of the things to help the body to heal itself naturally and to come back to a place of balance and stillness
Mm.
and overall health in all of the ways. Every day that I learn more and more about the human body and spirit and everything, it just amazes me what a crazy thing we have, like that our souls live within.
Yeah.
This meat suit that we inhabit is just so phenomenal and has so much potential for
Mm.
deep restorative health and just optimal living and wellness. And so it is just my greatest pleasure to be able to support people on their journeys in all of the ways, especially related to wellness. And yeah, I mean, my journey to get here was crazy. I originally wanted to be an actress and just had started getting these intuitive hits like, this is not the path for you,
Mhm.
like there is
Mhm.
something else that you need to be pursuing. And that time was the very beginning of when I started to understand what being an empath was,
Mm.
because I always was told when I was younger, like, oh, you're too sensitive, like by friends who were not as
Yeah.
intuitive, and
Yeah.
they would just be like, oh, you're too sensitive, blah blah blah. And so I always thought it was a bad thing that I would try to shut down on a regular
Mm.
basis, which, as we know, that
That
never
doesn't work. It's no bueno. Yeah.
never works.
Not good.
It always comes back up. Spirit will always say, knock, knock, you need to go be yourself.
Yes.
So did a big career pivot, went into psychology for school because I was like, I'm fascinated by how the human mind works and I want to understand myself better. And after that, knew I wanted to do something in the helping profession, and
Mm.
intuitive hits, acupuncture kept coming up, and I was like, I don't really know that much about this. Let's dive in and just see what this is about. And it my whole journey there, it was all very intuitively led and came from my desire to use my empathic abilities and for in a healthy, productive way. Um, and so yeah, I've just continued to do that ever since. And I would say one of the biggest lessons I've had to learn as an acupuncturist and an empath is to have energetic boundaries and to not take on the stuff of my clients. So that's been I would say one of the biggest lessons I've learned. And after learning it, it just feels so empowering to be able to work with anyone on any issue and know I will be okay in my energetic body. You will be okay in yours, and we can
Mhm.
coexist and intermingle and not have it be muddy or cloudy or uncertain of where you end and I begin. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. We're gonna touch on that in just a minute, but I wanna go back to the beginning because, similarly, I'm an actress. I have an acting theater background and looking forward to getting back to it, now that things are opening up again post COVID. But
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that we're these feely people that pursued these modalities because that expression that because being an actress, an actor is tapping into those feelings that may not necessarily be yours, right? It's a character choice. It's in the script, it's in the text, but being able to channel something to tell that story. So it's just so interesting that we both were drawn to that way of expressing ourselves, but then how we've taken that experience and now have pivoted, transitioned, or after this journey figured out, oh, wait, I can use this ability to also help people. So that's just cool.
Dude, exactly. Well, and it's so funny because when I tell people my journey from acting to psych to acupuncture, they're often like, well, that was a big tangent all over the place. And I'm like, actually, it's not. It's
It's
so
not.
divinely led because you're exactly right. Like, we have these empathic, intuitive abilities, which is wonderful. And there's so many different ways to utilize them. But it's the same thing when I am in a role versus when I'm sitting in front of a client, being able to tap into and deeply understand what is going on for them and to be able to relate to them in a way that makes them
Yes.
understood, makes them feel heard. Because some clients are super shy and they like need someone who's gonna be like drop into that like quiet,
Mhm.
deep place with them and not overtake them with my energy. And other people are like,
Or
"Zah,"
like me.
and they're
Other people are Rowena.
clap off Rowena's in the house.
Comes in the room like, oh my God,
Yeah.
can't believe what happened today.
And if I was sitting there like you would be like, what's she doing? She's not
Energy,
like
like,
meeting
it's
me
not.
where I am. So
Yeah.
it's all about energy and understanding how to work with it in a way that's going to be effective, like using your gift in an effective way. So totally agree with that.
Okay, well then let's talk about this effectiveness or the what are some of the tips or techniques that you use to be able to match a client energetically, but still protect, as you mentioned, when you introduced yourself, protect your own boundaries so that you're not taking on, like, oh, when
Yeah.
these clients are supercharged or whatnot.
Yeah, 100%. So, first and foremost, you have to have practices set in place that you do before and after and during an interaction with somebody else,
Mhm.
especially when it's in a very vulnerable, energetic space, talking about vulnerable, energetic things. And I will say that that was hard for me to learn in acupuncture school. I remember I had a client once who every time, and she was a lovely person, but every time I left a session with her, I felt like I was going to throw up, like
Wow.
uncontrollable nausea. And I felt so bad because started to like dread seeing this client because I was afraid of having this sensation.
Yeah.
So I was talking to a teacher about it, and she's like, okay, here's a whole long list of energetic practices that you can implement. And so I tried a lot of them out. And I would say some of my favorite ones are, first of all, when you're prepping for that kind of interaction, you have to have quiet time and stillness, even if it's for 30
Mhm.
seconds before you
Right.
go into the room or start the conversation. So I like to sometimes pretend that my body is being filled up from the ground up with white light so that and like I visualize it coming all the way up, like coming out of my pores, so that
Ooh.
you're so filled with white light that there's no space for anything else to come in because you're filled up. So that's one that I love. I also love pretending that my body is almost like a tube. So if something does come in, it just slides down and out and back into the earth. Like, and there's nothing for it to hold on to. You're just an empty vessel.
Hmm.
So that's kind of the opposite way of thinking about it. But I think some things work for some people and others work for others. And then, for the after part of whatever the interaction is, always washing my hands with great intention. So
Hmm.
kind of going like this, allowing and visualizing the water flowing and pulling out anything that might be stuck to your energy field, your aura, and just
Yeah.
letting that wash down the drain. And then laying in the earth to reground and allow Mother Earth to receive anything and take anything that is not yours that might be
Mhm.
with you in that moment. So, those are just a couple of examples, but the main thing is creating intentional space for stillness and preparing your body before and after,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
being intentional with it. And I think a big, I don't want to say a mistake, but I caution people to, when they say like, oh, I have to protect my energy, it's almost like, oh, I have to put up this like battle shield to
Mm.
protect my
Yeah,
energy.
yeah.
And I always encourage people to shift their way of thinking about that slightly and think about it more as a flexible like rain jacket. If that
Ooh. Ooh, okay.
makes sense. The
Yeah,
wind,
yeah.
because you're still interacting with it, it can move and flow, but there is a soft, gentle but strong outer layer to
Layer.
your energy. Um, and
Mm.
that it because when you're constantly trying to protect yourself, you're draining your own energy, which
Right,
makes
right.
you more
It's so
susceptible to taking stuff on. So I encourage people to have intentionality about their practices before and after those kinds of interactions, and just channeling your intention into the earth, like visualizing everything flowing from your head down to your toes, out back down into Mother Earth, because she will take everything that it is not yours. And
mm.
yeah, so long-winded answer, but
No, no, it's a
that's my
beautiful
thoughts on
answer with such great tips, and I know that I think it was our conversation about the white light that
that. Hmm.
called me to reach out about talking about this on this live, and I love the ideas. The raincoat is cool because I'm thinking about Kerrigan, my 15-month-old. She has this cute little like polka dotted raincoats. Like I'm just like thinking of,
Yeah.
life is going at. It's like, but it's okay because we're protected, but it is flexible. I mean, gosh, if anything, this past year
Mhm.
has taught us that you never know what's going to happen. And, with COVID, I think a lot of us had to be flexible and put on those raincoats and just
Mhm.
be be intentional and be mindful and just try to stay in the moment as much as possible because we didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah.
It was a
Yeah.
crazy wild time.
You might have gotten blown over by a windstorm at any moment,
Absolutely.
right?
So I actually now I'm feeling called. Okay, so
Mhm.
I asked Hannah if I could pull a card for this,
I was
and
like,
I was
oh
like,
yeah.
I don't know when I'm gonna do it, but I'm feeling like it's now. This is Tasha Silver Divine Abundance
Ooh.
card deck, and I feel like yes, we'll see what happens. What comes up here? I have an idea of what, and this is, I don't, I enjoy when these conversations are more organic. I don't really, as you can
Mhm.
probably tell, I don't really have structure, which is weird for me. Hannah knows how I am. I usually
Yeah.
am like so rigid with everything in my life that it's kind of nice to just be like, let's see what's happening today.
Mhm.
Um, so,
I love it.
hmm, okay.
Is there an intention with this card?
Hannah,
What?
Hannah,
What?
I pulled the grounded card.
Yes, the grounded goat.
You literally were just talking about that, just
I
how
know.
to take it to the earth. And it says
Mhm.
here, many of the most evolved beings on earth are regular folks living with joy, dignity, and courage.
I love that. I love
Yes.
that. And I think that's what so much of what we need as empaths, like we need that grounding. We need that, what's the word I'm trying to think of? Like that structure, and knowing that we, no matter what is going on in our lives, we always have Mother Earth below us, and we always have that support, and we can always give back to that when we are feeling a little in the trenches energetically with things.
Yeah, I mean, especially when if there's like a lot going on, and I know for me, now that we're transitioning, like folks are getting vaccinated, things are opening up again. We're finally coming out of this collective retreat, as my therapist has called in.
Mhm.
I've said many times of
Love
COVID the
that.
past year and a half. Now we're kind of coming out of that, and I don't know. Sometimes I'm just like, "Oh, man, like, I don't know how to do this anymore." And it's just
Yeah.
like, "Ah, what's happening?"
Well, and I think we talked about this before already. Like, so many of my clients have been coming in and saying, reporting, I am exhausted. They're like,
Mhm.
I feel like I'm sleeping like 10 hours a night, and I wake up and I'm exhausted still. And I think it is because it's like post COVID fatigue, because
Yes.
even though it was challenging for many of us, some people loved being at home all the time, but for many of us, especially more extroverted people, it was a really challenging time.
Yeah.
But and we got used to a slower pace,
Yes.
and we it just became the new normal that everyone talked about. And so now we're coming out of it, and not like getting back on the hamster wheel of life, but kind of, just having busier lives, going out, doing things. I think it's a really, really, really important time, especially for empaths, but for everyone, to really examine how much interaction you're having, how much you're taking care of yourself during
Mhm.
this time, and giving
Mhm.
yourself space for stillness and for recharging, and for self care, because it can be overwhelming to be around so many people when you're used to, only being around a few or people you live with. Um,
Yeah, and I know for me and my husband Derek, we're super extroverted people.
mhm.
We had a baby during this pandemic, so then we were, slowing down anyway to learn how to do this parenting thing.
Yeah.
And now that we're, as you mentioned, we're trying to come out of it, I think for us, we're trying to make up for lost time, right?
Mhm.
Because we haven't seen so many friends haven't met the baby, like, and so I'm already seeing our calendar getting filled up again, and I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, wait, hold on, time out."
Yeah.
Like, I I was talking with a friend just the other day about how I don't wanna lose the lessons learned from
Mm,
that time, from that collective retreat, from that stillness, because I know for me, it created this sense of purpose with this business and being able to exercise my intuitive muscle and to be able to ground myself more, right? So it can be a little daunting to be like, okay, we need to figure out how we can engage with the world again and be able to see our loved ones and do the fun things and
mhm.
in a safe way and
Yeah.
whatnot, but not lose what we've learned, especially as empaths, right? Like we were able to learn how to work with it, and now things are going to be opening up again. So
Yeah.
now what? you
So
know
what would you say are your greatest lessons that you took away from
oh
this collective retreat?
I think that Uh, definitely the intentionality. I know you mentioned it in terms of, in your practice with working with clients, but for me, it's just been in general, especially now as a mother, I think I've just, I'm such an anxious person and I'm working on that too, but I was always ruminating about things or thinking about things too much and worrying so much, but I have this baby in front of me that wants to, I don't know, play with something. So
Mhm.
just being focused on that and taking things moment by moment. I think, as you mentioned, just being you, right? Like, I feel that I think for a lot of people, a lot of us question, all right, what am I doing? Or like, why am I here?
Mhm.
And what, because again, like COVID brought the world down on its knees. It was this oh shit moment, I think for a lot of us. And for me personally, it was like, oh shit, wait, I need to make the moves. I need to take
Mhm.
those inspired action steps because you never know. One, number two, I have this beautiful daughter that I want a role model for. Three,
Mhm.
I know I'm capable of impact and doing more.
Yep.
And four, I need to stop giving a crap about what people think.
No
You
more
know?
people pleasing.
And five, I don't
Mhm.
know. This is fun. I have no idea. But you know what I mean? It was just this, gosh, Rowena, you have been in this bubble of perfectionism and this, this compartmentalizing of all yourselves and just trying to stay
Mhm.
afloat for 30 plus years of people pleasing and whatnot.
Mhm.
And as an empath, as a feely person, and then on top of that, trying to manage my own like selves and just manage who I am and that's freaking exhausting.
Long list.
Ooh, so I've just stripped away. I'm like, here, what you see is what you get. I mean, obviously I'm gonna, I'm if I need to perform, I perform. If I need to be, mommy Rowena, I will be, or coach Rowena or whatever, but it's all
Mhm.
me, you
Yeah.
know? It's like, and I feel like that recognition and that realization has helped me get more in alignment, helped me on my own spiritual journey and, being able to live in a higher vibe, which
Yeah.
I now want to transition to this freaking solar eclipse because
Well, but before
yeah,
we switch over to that, I
yeah.
want to like acknowledge in your speaking that your transformation has been so incredible to watch.
Oh,
And I think that have becoming a mother and going through this pandemic really just escalated that even further,
I
and just it
agree.
was like a port key to bring you to where you are today. And remembering these lessons that you learned and like writing them down and keeping them someplace sacred, you always like you created
Yeah.
this for yourself, and we all created new versions of ourselves throughout this crazy time. And so when life does get busy again, going back to those lessons and
Yeah.
reminding yourself, this is who I am now. It's wonderful. I honor who I was. I lovingly release that, and now
Mm.
here we are. And I can, and you're going to make different kinds of choices anyway, because you're showing up as a different version of yourself.
Well, thank you, friend. I received that. Mind you, folks, Hannah first met me and first started treating me. I don't even, how long ago has that been now?
Like
I don't
four
know.
years, I think.
How many years?
I think it's been 4 years because I started.
Ooh,
I started.
4.
You were one of my
Ooh,
first
cool.
clinic patients, so
Yeah. Wow, wow. So yeah, 4 years ago, this girl was she didn't know it was just yeah, it was so different. I was just in a
yeah.
different headspace, energetic space. It was
Mhm.
so thank you. I received that and I I intend to continue to to release, to acknowledge and release what was and to embrace
Mhm.
who I am and the freaking amazingness that is to come with all of these things that we're
Yeah.
doing and practicing cuz it I'm telling friends who will be watching this, it's a freaking game changer. Once you're able to have that new acknowledgement of self and be able to harness your gifts and be able to create something so fucking powerful and useful and aligned, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, kind of makes you feel like you can do anything.
Yeah, and oh, that's what I wanted to bring up, in addition to the lessons learned, it's one of my daily practices is affirmations, right?
Hmm.
And it may not be how I feel today, but it's who I intend to be. It's I am a published author. I am traveling around the world. It is throwing out there and using my energy to put forth this who I want to be and enacting that. Because I
Yep.
think in COVID it got very easy to just lounge around and, like womp womp. I
Well,
got
good.
me
It's
and my
COVID.
yoga pants, blah blah
Yeah.
blah. But I know for you and for me, sis, I feel like both Hannah and I were like, no, no, no. This is a time to really figure out who I am and how I'm going to build my business in this profound way. I think
Mhm.
like there was a sense of, all right, here we go. Let's get to work.
Yeah. I will say I did several months of lounging and being incredibly depressed about not being able to work. And then I said, okay, you can continue to do this or you can make a different choice. What are we going to do? Let's fucking go.
Yeah, and I think that there's nothing wrong with that
No, it's
because I've
give yourself that time to process. Like,
dude,
so important.
that was me this week. So now we can go into this eclipse because that was me this week.
Yeah.
This new moon and solar eclipse right now, today is June 10th, 2021, in Gemini during Mercury retrograde. There's like squares with Neptune. There's just a lot of astrological stuffs. I
Not happening.
I texted Hannah this quote from this Moon Omens
Yeah.
article, which I can link it here. I if you don't follow Moon Omens, they have some awesome affirmations and articles and whatnot with all this stuff. They have journals and things too. So they didn't pay me to say that, but I think they're
Here it
great.
is.
um On this eclipse, many of us are feeling confused and disillusioned. We're experiencing a lot of mental overwhelm and we crave clarity. However, nothing feels certain yet. While the eclipse has the function of connecting us with our sense of purpose, we're still likely to feel there's something unresolved and we may feel frustrated as we still have trouble thinking clearly and rationally. Yeah.
Yep.
It's the cloudy, the oh, it's just been an interesting time. Lindsay Mack, who taught the tarot course that I took a part of, said that June is this time of where we're kind of reflecting and it's this immense change. There's going to be this transformation, but there's this sense of but not yet, right? Like I know that you're feeling it. I know I'm feeling it too. It's
Mhm.
like it's like on the precipice.
Well, and I feel like with both of our personalities, like it's always a practice for me to be like baby steps. I know you just want to have it all done and transformed right now. That's not what's going to happen though. It's not going to happen. And
Mhm.
it's such a beautiful practice to learn to be in stillness and practice being a beginner and taking it one step at a time and trusting the journey. Because like well, I'll share this. I've been discovering recently that I have a long lineage of codependence and that I have been living in a codependent way for a very long time. And so I was talking to Rowena about this the other day, and she's of course telling me all about all of this astrology magic and intensity. And I'm like, oh well, this is perfect. I'm like going into this huge next phase of my life of like transforming and healing from all of this, and I just want it to be done. Like I just want to
Yeah.
know that that's an issue and then get through it and have it be done. But that's not how it works. It's about
Right.
the baby steps. It's about trusting that it's not happening yet and it will be happening. And
And that's okay, and I know
yeah.
for me, it's been this week has been what's been coming up for me is a lot of this inner child work, like a lot of tending to my inner child, my inner teen even, like my inner younger self that made all these mistakes and has fallen on her face and has done these things because she felt unworthy of love and affection and all this shame. So it was just a lot happening, and
Yeah.
I know I have to not new. I know because it's still happening. I know that I have to unlock and do this work as same as you, right? We know we have to do this work and we
Yeah.
want it to be done tomorrow or today, but that's just not how this works.
Hmm.
And to just be okay with that weird, like, okay, I'm working on it and I'm acknowledging, but I'm like still got stuff to do, but like I feel uncomfortable, but like I want to be here, but I'm
Hmm.
not. It's just
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because even this morning I like got frustrated with Sean about something, and I was being very like having a codependent reaction, and he's like, "What's going on?" And I'm just like, "Ah!" and like left the room for a minute, and then like 5 minutes later I was like, "Oh, that was a little bit of a codependent attack. Wow. Okay." And then I went back into the room and I was like, "Sorry about that." Well, actually, no, I didn't apologize. I said, I realized I was having a little bit of a codependent attack, and I realized it much quicker than I would have 2 days ago. And I acknowledged it and moved through it, and now we're done. So that's progress. But like,
dude, that's awesome.
I know.
That's part of it though. That's part of it, right? As these feely empathic people, it's being okay to like feel through it and then
Mhm.
acknowledge it, if it's happening.
Yes. And I think acknowledgement, like when we're not quite there yet, acknowledgement for and gratitude for what we have accomplished is it's so important, and it makes the journey easier because it's almost like you're celebrating each little win along the way to get to wherever it is that you want to go, so it feels exciting and it feels special,
Oh,
and it makes you feel pride for what you've done and accomplished. And so yeah, you're not here yet, but you're here, and that's so much farther along than when you were over here. And
oh man. That totally resonates. I was just talking with a group about my friends on Clubhouse about how for so like this being raised in this perfectionism, right? It
Mhm,
just makes it so hard and having this mindset that you have to do all these big things and they all have to be so perfect and they have to be so grand.
mhm,
It's so difficult for us to actually celebrate those smaller wins, as you mentioned, those baby steps. So,
mhm.
I mean, how are you able to remind yourself to do that? I'm personally asking. I'm sure other people
Yeah.
would too, like, oh.
Well, I mean, I make a point to either in the beginning of the day or at the end of the day sit down and have a few minutes for myself, and I literally will just go over in my head almost like a to-do list, like here's all of the awesome shit that I've done. Like almost like a list of gratitudes, like,
Yeah, yeah,
and I'll think, or I'll even I like to write things out because I'm a very visual person, and being able
yeah.
to see it helps me. But I'll write out, things that I've been working on, whether it's my business, my personal life, my health, whatever it is, and I'll write down all the great things that have happened
Mhm,
in
mhm.
regards to that, and then look at it and take stock, or even like speak it aloud to continue that manifestation. Because like so many things, if we don't sit down, take pause, and take stock of what has happened, we can sleepwalk through life and not ever feel like we're there when actually there's no better moment than what is happening right now, right here.
Oh man, see, I need to channel more of that Taurus. My Taurus moon needs to tap into that because your Capricorn rising gal is like blip blip blip, like I'm trying to go to the next thing, but that's
All about grounding.
yeah, it's all about
Grounded goat.
grounded goat. I'm gonna name
Well,
her.
and it's funny because I'm a Gemini moon, so I feel like my emotions have been all over the place with this new moon, and I have to remind myself, like, it's okay to be feeling all the feels. All the things I talk to my clients about every day, I have to remind myself of too, because we're all learning the same lessons over and over at different times in our lives and at deeper levels. And so if you're learning it again, it's like, well, it's just because you've reached a next level and there's just a new and different way that you can learn it.
I love that, and I think I appreciate you being authentic and vulnerable with that because I feel like some people believe that if they're the coach or they're the person over
We
here
gotta
that
have it all
you're
together.
not doing the work. Yeah, that is so false.
Yeah. And why is it that we do that to ourselves?
I don't know. Why do you do that to us?
I mean, I think it's because we want to, because I know I've felt that way before too. Like I was just talking about it on one of my podcast interviews the other day. Feeling like a fraud if you're
Mm,
preaching about gratitude, but you're having a day where you're just like fuck everything.
yeah.
But no, I mean, I think that we want to be the best versions of ourselves for our clients, for ourselves, for our family, whatever. But I think it's easier to show up in that way when we are consistently working on ourselves. And the reason why we got into this field in the first place was because we wanted to do work on ourselves too.
Yes, absolutely.
Like
Absolutely.
people who don't care about personal development aren't going to become a life coach or an acupuncturist. Like it's not
Right.
in their scope of interest yet, or maybe ever. Some people aren't into learning about that kind of thing, and that's totally
Mhm.
cool. But we got into this work because we had our own work to do, and we were the clients first, and now we're always the client. We're always our own most important client, but we feel passionately about this because it's been so helpful, and so now we want to go and share it with others, but reminding ourselves that we are human and we are never going to get it right all of the time is so, so important.
Hannah, you need to transcribe that what you just said. That needs to be a quote on your website or
Okay.
on your like speaker one pager. That was
Yeah.
brilliant. It was beautiful. I'm
Thank
just like,
you.
no, it's absolutely true. We are we're our first clients. And I know for me, one of my clients said that she loves how I am vulnerable and I
Mhm.
share my stories because it just
Yeah.
grants permission to my clients
Be
who
like,
are
"Oh, I
feeling the
can feel
same.
this."
Yeah, that it's okay.
When it's funny because and this kind of brings it back into the whole empath conversation. Like, I remember in acupuncture school, they were saying, like, never share anything about yourself with your clients. Not all teachers did this, but I had some that were very adamant about, and the reason why was because of energetic boundaries, and you don't
Yeah.
want to make their session about you.
Yes.
And I think that there is a part of, and what most of my teachers said in terms of building rapport with a person and connecting with them on an energetic level, we have to share something about ourselves so that they feel like they're not talking to a brick wall. And,
Right.
and I have had clients the same thing. They'll be nervous to share something, and I'll say, well, you're not alone. Like, I've been through this too. And I give them like one sentence, it's nothing deep. And they say, oh, wow, okay. I feel like I can share this now, and
Yeah.
that I'm not the only one going through this.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
1000%. Who
Yeah.
is there anything else that you can think of in regards to just getting through this very astrologically, cosmically, I don't know, this like ascension, crazy, super spiritual
Time.
time that we're in, it's just any parting thoughts as we wrap this up?
Um, I would say be gentle and give yourself grace.
Hmm.
Remind yourself on a regular basis that if you the reason you're feeling this intensity is because you have gifts and you can feel what is happening. So congratulate yourself for being so in tune and keep
Hmm.
doing everything that you can to care for yourself and live live every day with the most gratitude that you can, and know that not every day is going to be filled with joy and gratitude and ease, and like you're not doing it wrong when you have those days, because you will. So
Yes, and as we've mentioned, empath friends, if you're feeling it during the solar eclipse time, you are not alone. Speaking of,
mhm,
it's
yeah.
there's a lot happening, and it's totally okay. As you mentioned, it's not always joy and happiness. The
No,
Our friend here, it also says courage,
no,
right?
not a good- yeah.
It's being courageous and being able to feel that, and having these practices that Hannah you shared so beautifully, and I'm in gratitude for you
Mhm.
for being a part of my journey and seeing the transformation. Again, I appreciate you witnessing that and acknowledging it, because as you know, when you're in it, it's so hard to see the forest from the trees or whatnot, and be
Yeah,
like, oh no, wait, I actually have made great strides.
yeah. And I tell my clients that all the time. I'm like, look where you were before. Let me
Hmm.
list out some traits or some complaints or whatever. And they're like, and then look where you are now. And people are like, oh shit,
Yeah. Oh
totally
wait,
different
what?
person. I'm like, yeah, and you did that. So yes, celebrate your gifts and be powerfully vulnerable every day.
Ooh, powerfully vulnerable. I love that. Well, I know that one of your projects where you've been vulnerable, amazing, sharing your gifts, Gemini Moon friend. Tell us about your podcast and other ways that folks can find you and connect with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a podcast. It's called Practically Well. And it's a mixture of solo episodes by me and interviews with a wide variety of amazing humans who do all kinds of different things in the world of wellness. So we talk about lots of different topics. So in a practical way to bring new information and mindset, ways of being, all of the things to the table for you. So Practically Well, it is on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor.com or Anchor.fm, Google Podcasts, basically kind of all the main places where people listen to podcasts. It is there. So I would love to connect with you on there. I do 2 episodes a week, one on Monday, one on Friday. And yeah, then Instagram is a great place. I love hanging out on there. My business handle is Soul and Lune Wellness. And we can, do you have show notes for this? Or like
I can put it in. Yeah, I can put a little
comments?
comments. Yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah,
we'll definitely put all your info on there and your site and
yeah. And then
whatnot.
I have an email address that we can include there too. And soulandlunewellness.com is my website. And those are the main spots. So
Well, Hannah is a prime example of using those gifts and talents and channeling it in so many different ways to help people and to help us find our, soul calling, soul integration. And I I'm just excited to continue working alongside you on our journeys, and to see how we've moved and evolved, and where we go next, cuz
I don't
as you
know.
know, it's not yet, right? So like what's going to happen?
The sky's the fucking limit. I'm telling you,
Sky's going to fucking open up, and it's going to be like
something's gonna happen.
going to be so many things, and we're going to sit here and be like, "Remember that time we talked on your live?"
And they're like, what's gonna happen?
Well, it did.
It
Um, yeah, so thank you. I appreciate
Thank
you
you. This was
chatting with
so
me
fun.
here.
So
So
fun.
yeah, next week we're going to have Kimberly Crow, who I met. I need to connect you with her. She runs something really cool called the Speakers Playhouse every week, where folks can connect with each other who are looking for speaking gigs, and it's this like really fun, like gamified esque playful way to network
Mhm.
and to get your voice out there, which I'm totally about. Hello, actresses. She also has a company called Entrepreneurs Rocket Fuel, where she just has all these awesome resources and whatnot. So if you're interested in that, definitely join us next time. Otherwise, please take care. Give yourself some grace. I know that I have been, because I'm a normally productive human, but this week is just not as so.
That's
But
okay.
that's okay.
It's what is universally aligned.
Absolutely. And we will talk to you soon. Thank you so, so much. Take
Bye.
care.
Take care.
Bye.